Chris Eubank Jr. A very warm welcome to yourself, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Very, very well.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Happy New Year, first and foremost. We've not been the best start for the majority of us going into lockdown 3 again. But for yourself, a very, very exciting time. You've recently collaborated with Team Sauerland. How did that come about?
They contacted us at the right time. My career has been, somewhat of a stalemate at the moment or recently. Obviously COVID has slowed everything down. I haven't been active. And they put a new path out in front of me. They offered me a lot of big names and it was an offer I couldn't refuse. So signed with them. We've had a great track record. Fought with them in the World Boxing Super Series and really liked how they did that. So I'm very confident moving forward with them that they're going to deliver on the things they've promised. And 2021 is going to be a big year.
Fantastic stuff. No, I don't doubt that it is. That sort of brings me on to what I wanted to talk about. 2021, obviously last year was very different to what we're all used to, particularly in boxing. 2021, you must have your eyes on certain names. I can probably guess who they are. Is there any names that spring to mind and any fights that you want in particular?
So I'm gunning for all the middleweight world title holders. Number one would be Gennady Golovkin. He is a fighter that I've wanted to fight for a number of years now. I've been calling him out. The fight was close to being made a couple of years back, and it fell through, and that's something I've always regretted. So this year I want to make that right. He has a world title at middleweight, so he's number one on the hit list for sure. But there are many big names in the middleweight division right now, and I'm looking to get him in the ring with all of them.
Fantastic. No, Golovkin is a massive name. He's dominated for so many years now, and I think stylistically, that fight is a mouth-watering fight between yourself and Golovkin. It would be certainly a fight I'd be glued to the sofa watching. Is there anybody else? Maybe the obvious one is the potential Billy Joe Saunders rematch. Is that something you'd be very interested in?
Not at the moment, no. He's at 168, and he's been ducking me for years now. So that is not something that I'm really thinking about doing or holding my breath for. I'm at 160. The only person I would go up to 168 for is Canelo Alvarez. That's simply because people are saying he's the pound for pound greatest and biggest name in the sport. And I think I can beat him. So that's a fight I would take at 168. Outside of him, you have Charlo, you have Murata, you have some big names in the middleweight division. And I'm WBA interim world champion. So I'm number one contender. And that means these fights will happen this year.
Brilliant stuff. Getting back to the weight, so that was a question I was definitely going to ask you. Do you feel like you are most comfortable at middleweight? And as you say there, you would step up for Canelo, but generally speaking, would you want to compete at middleweight and look to challenge all the world champions at that weight?
I campaigned at middleweight, super middleweight for 3 years. Every weigh-in, I'd have a full breakfast before the day on the day of the weigh-in to make 168, and then I'd eat for 24 hours straight, and I'd still
you make it quite comfortably, yeah.
I didn't make it. I would have to force myself to eat to make it.
Yeah.
And these guys would come in 20 pounds heavier than me on the night. At middleweight, it's a much more natural weight for me. Yes, I have to cut a little bit to make it, but then after I rehydrate and refuel, I put on 8 pounds, and I have a size advantage. I'm I'm a big middleweight instead of being a small super middleweight. So
Yeah.
it's much more natural for me to be at 160. I can make it comfortably, and that's where I'm going to be campaigning at for the foreseeable future.
No, that's very exciting. So, in terms of last year, very different. What did your year consist of? It was so different to what people are used to. Was you training as normal, sparring as normal? Have things, have you brought in the same amount of people? Has anything changed in that respect?
So I didn't get to fight in 2020 because of COVID. So in that sense, it was bad. But because of COVID, I met Roy Jones Jr. I would never have gone to Pensacola, Florida, if it wasn't for the pandemic. Everything shut down in Vegas. Floyd's gym, where I trained at, was unavailable, and I had nowhere to go. And so I ended up going to Pensacola and training with Roy. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't really know if it would work out, but it was the best decision I made in a long time in terms of my boxing career. And now he's my full-time coach. He'll be in the ring with me in my corner for the rest of my career. And I've learned a lot from training with him over the last year. And I will continue to learn from him. So in that sense, 2020 was actually a very successful and active year for me just through the training aspect.
Yeah, no, they say everything happens for a reason. It certainly has for yourself. Must be unbelievable to have such another legend in your corner. You've got one with your dad, and then one with Roy Jones Jr. You're clawing experience in and different ideas and from all angles. Just getting back to the Mayweather thing. So I believe you spent some time at Floyd's gym, quite a bit of time. What was that like? Or what's it been like over the years? And have you sort of extracted those sort of experiences, the different styles out there, and applied them to your game? And do you believe all those little cogs in that wheel can propel you to take over the middleweight division?
Yes. So I've been training in Vegas since I was a teenager, and I've been working with Floyd Mayweather Sr. on and off for years. Trained around Floyd Mayweather Jr. for years, been in his training camps, watched him train, and a lot of it's rubbed off on me. I've learned a lot from being in that environment. As a kid, you're sparring with all these guys and all these world champions in America, and it's experience that you can't buy. It was great, But again, meeting Roy, that's opened my eyes to a lot of things. Vegas is a great place to train. It's a great place to be in box. But I feel like for me, the move to Pensacola, the move to Florida with Roy, it's opened up a lot of new dimensions to my game that wouldn't have been opened up if I'd stayed in Vegas. So I'm very grateful, very blessed to have that opportunity and to spend the time with Roy, and just very excited to show the world what we've been working on over the last year.
Well, yeah, we're very excited to see it. You're an incredibly talented fighter and a very exciting fighter with the sort of a fan-friendly style, and that's what people want. Was he sort of heavily in on this decision to collab with Team Sauerland? Was he all for it? It sounds like he was.
No, Roy doesn't really get involved with that side of things, the business side, promoters and stuff like that. That's not really his thing. He's the trainer. This was me and my father and my management team. That was our decision, and Roy's happy. If we're happy, he's happy. So yeah. Perfect.
So just before we wrap up, can you give us any sort of estimate on the date and the potential opponent you're hoping to get first, and when?
I've been told that I should be fighting within the next 2 to 3 months.
Brilliant.
So I leave Vegas tomorrow to go back to Florida and start training. So yeah, that's it. I haven't been given a name, but 2021 will be very active for me. Obviously a lot more active than 2020, and I'm sure that the Sauerland brothers are going to deliver on the things that they've said they can do for me, and the sky's the limit.
The sky's most certainly the limit. We know who you want, so we'll be watching with interest. We'll wrap up there, but thank you very much for coming on. I wish you the best of luck in your new venture.
Okay, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. You take care.